Well, the Marlins just wrapped up their homestand against the Astros and the Cubs. Be sure to check out our analysis on the homestand. And what are we paying Heath Bell for again? All that and more coming up next. Let's get into it. Marlins returned from a tough road trip from Cincinnati to Philadelphia, finishing off 2-4, and headed to their first full homestand at Marlins Park. Now, after the first game, there was debate as whether the ball would fly out of the park and just how the park would play. And game one of that Astros series, right to it. It took 8 innings, but in the 8th inning, homegrown talent J.D. Martinez of the Houston Astros hit a 2-run shot to tie the game at 4 apiece off of Edward Mujica. And that signified a blown save, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And the Marlins ended up winning on a walk-off hit by Gabby Sanchez. Rob, after that first game of the homestand, what did you like? What did you not like about the way we played?
Well, there's still been a lot of talk as far as the ballpark and whether the roof is open, the ball flies out more, the window's open, things that we've been noticing. So throughout the series, you saw sometimes they would open the roof, sometimes they would open the windows in the outfield. But you notice that with the wind swirling around, you couldn't really hit balls out. And that's why when Mojica came in, I thought we had the ball game and we were ready to go. And then we had Bell coming in the 9th, but he blew the save. And it was a pretty good hit by J.D. Martinez. And as bad as it might have felt, it's kind of cool that a guy that grew up as a Marlins fan hit the first home run in Marlins Park. But that game wasn't too well pitched, but you started seeing some consistency, at least from certain pitchers, and we eventually ended up winning that game, which was, at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Definitely. And moving on to game 2, where you had kind of a deja vu scenario. Carlos Zambrano pitching against the Astros, a little shaky in the first inning, I believe, first couple of innings, and then settled down nicely. And then Marlins, with a lead, bring in their reliable closer, or what would seem to be Heath Bell, and he blows the save. The second blown save in less than a week. What's going on? We spent money on this guy to shut the door down, and what's going on? I mean, did you expect that from Heath Bell?
Well, with relief pitchers, it's such it goes up in the air either way. Heath Bell is a good closer. He has lights out stuff. He has a great changeup, and you're gonna have games that you're just not gonna. The balls are just gonna fall in certain places. So I'm not too worried about Heath Bell. I was really frustrated with that game because we played really good, but it just, at the end of the day, we couldn't pull it out. The thing with Heath Bell is, and the same thing with Carlos Zambrano, need to throw strikes. If you can throw strikes, then let your defense make some plays and we can get out of the inning. But with Zambrano, he threw a lot of balls in the first inning. He got a lot of people on base, and that's why he allowed runs in the first inning. If it weren't for that, he might have been able to get out of it. And then with Heath Bell, later on in the series, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, he ended up having a pretty good homestand.
Yeah, I mean, you saw, I mentioned Zambrano there, 6 walks, I believe, in that start. You can't have that. And like you mentioned, a closer cannot, cannot throw balls. He has to pound that strike zone and rely on his stuff. And I heard that, Heath Bell had to work on some mechanics, both physically and mentally, and the fact that his wife sent him a message through Facebook encouraging him, giving him words of encouragement. And if that's what it takes to get back into that groove, more power to Mrs. Bell there. And in Game 3 of that series, Anibal Sanchez, I thought a pretty decent start. There was a problem with run support early in the game. J.A. Happ pitched for the Astros, and we tend to struggle against him. And so it was until the 8th inning where our boy Hanley tied the game off of Wilton Lopez with a home run to center field, a long, deep fly ball to center field to tie it up at 4. And eventually he comes up later on in the game with the bases loaded and knocks in the winning run for a walk-off win. And before I throw it over to you, I forgot to mention that Omar Infante hit the first Marlins home run at Marlins Park. So I thought that was very special. Rob, what did you think of that game?
Well, both games, the Omar Infante moment, by the way, was an amazing moment. It was kind of like, whew, got that part over with. And you kind of saw the relief throughout the clubhouse after that home run was hit. Because just like on opening day, who's going to get the first hit? And that just weighed on everybody because they couldn't get a hit through 7-8 innings. Now, that's not to say that Loesch didn't have really good stuff, but that you could see that weight on the guys. And after that first home run by Infante, which was, I think it was pretty perfect that he hit the first home run because he was red hot. And it just, you saw that relief from everybody as a whole. And then the next day, Hanley just proved that you can hit a ball to dead center in that ballpark. It was a blast. I mean, once he hit it, I was like, this ball is way gone. I was hoping it was going to get into that upper deck section. But you really started seeing Hanley coming into his zone. And I haven't seen this type of Hanley in a long time, maybe 2009. This type of Hanley is being more aggressive, and that's the Hanley that we need in order to get the playoffs. You need that aggressive Hanley. He knows he has Stanton behind him. He knows that he has Lomo behind him. Get more aggressive. Get on base. He was stealing bases. You started seeing the speed come out. So you have Reyes, Bonifacio, and Ramirez running. You're going to develop a lot of runs. And you saw in that series that we could score a lot of runs. We're not a team that just scores 2 runs in the first 2 games of the season. We're a team that can score a lot of runs. And you combine that with a rotation that can go deep into the game, and then a bullpen that's been lights out. You're starting to see the pieces, and if they all start going at the same time, this team can be unstoppable.
So after a series win against the Astros, Marlins welcomed in the Chicago Cubs. Things went well. I mean, JJ had a decent start, and we got another blast from Hanley Ramirez. And Heath Bell got his first Marlins save, just like that. I believe it was 6 or 7 pitches. And Rob, go into more detail of the game. What did you like about it?
Well, first things first, JJ was outstanding. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. You started seeing his mechanics change a little bit. Randy St. Clair had pointed out that in the past he would do this little tapping thing with his glove, and that allowed him to do certain timing, and that timing was off from where it used to be. And they actually did a split screen on TV that they showed how long it took his whole windup in years past and how it was this year. And because of that tap, he was losing some of that speed off his fastball because he wasn't generating as much kinetic energy towards the plate. So he reinstituted that tap, and you started seeing the fastball come to life again. He started throwing a little bit harder. He started spotting his pitches a lot better. And it was a great game. He didn't have as many strikeouts as we're used to, but at the same time, you want him to get through a lot of innings, and he was able to get through 7 innings, which is what you want your ace to do. It's a great way to start off that series, I thought.
Yeah, definitely, and just the way that things got going, that first game of the series really gave you that sense that we can win in this ballpark. It's something that it's a ballpark that I think is going to cater to the Marlins and to the fans. And moving on to game 2, where it was just a complete destruction of the Chicago Cubs. We had Mark Burley, who has experience against the Cubs when he pitched for the White Sox. He had to start in game 2, and 8 innings, 1 earned run. Is that the Mark Burley that we expect?
Absolutely. This is the Mark Burley that we paid for, and I'm so happy to see that in the National League. Remember, his numbers against the National League are amazing. If you look at the numbers that you see below against the National League when he was with the White Sox, I mean, the guy was just lights out. And now that he's with the Marlins, he's showing that. He's kind of that lefty that doesn't have a fastball at 99 miles per hour, but he can spot his pitches. And you really saw the Cubs really off balance with all of his pitches. And for him to pitch 8 innings after JJ had pitched 7 innings the day before, you started seeing the bullpen was a lot fresh. And that's the way you want to see it, because the guys were really pitching successive games. To see the pitchers going deep into the game really helped the bullpen get back on its feet. And as you saw in the series, the bullpen was lights out, and the reason for that was because of the starting pitching going deep into the game. So we need to see a lot more of that, and I'm so glad that the top 2 guys are going deep into the game, because that's just going to follow everybody, and then we're going to start seeing some really good victories.
Definitely, and not only those 2 guys, but we also have somewhat of a surprise, maybe not a surprise, but Ricky Nolasco has also gotten off to a good start in 2012. And game 3 was no different. 5 1/3 innings, and a lot of pitches in the game, but the team, he kept the team in the game, and I think that was a very good example of a team win, where you had pitching, you had clutch hitting by Dobbs, and you had good relief pitching. Relief pitchers did not allow a run the rest of the game. And again, another save from Heath Bell. So I think that trouble with Bell is put to rest. Did you think that was a complete win against the Cubs?
Yes, that game was the team that I foresee for us to get into the playoffs. You saw in the first inning, a lot of people running, a lot of people getting on base, score runs right in the first inning, get the game going. That's the team that's going to lead us to the playoffs. That's how we did it in 03 with pitching and speed. And that's the team that we need. And this whole homestand, you really started seeing shades of 03. You started seeing us battle when we needed to battle, hit home runs when we needed to hit home runs, steal bases when we needed it, pitch consistently. Remember, if you remember back to our previous episode, I said the key to this homestand was consistent pitching. And that's exactly what we saw. Even though Heath Bell and Mojica got a little bit roughed up in that game against the Astros, you saw a lot more consistency. And the consistency is what we're going to need going into the later months.
Yeah, of course, I agree 100%. This is back to what you were saying about mirroring the 2003 team. Just boom, 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 get that run in, and it's something that is fun to watch again. So now we're going to talk about Ozzie and his return from his 5-game suspension. So in the 3 games that you saw Ozzie manage against the Cubs, I think you saw kind of like a relaxed atmosphere in the clubhouse. You saw, I think, happy faces again, that they got their leader back, and they're rallying around him. And I don't remember which home run it was, but Hanley Ramirez coming up and giving handshakes and all that. and when it got to Ozzy, they did their thing, and so I think that it's great to have him back, and I think he's happy to be back at the ballpark.
Yeah, it's you know, the manager is not the leader of the team, but in this case, you kind of see that a little bit. You really see the difference when Ozzy is in the clubhouse and when he's not. And you see a more relaxed clubhouse. Our players are playing hard as it is. After spending all the spring training with Ozzy Guillen, you know, that's their guy. And you really saw the excitement, especially in Hanley. Once he came back, Ozzy Guillen came back, you saw Hanley with huge smiles. Him and Jose Reyes were just, you know, really excited. And just having Ozzy there being the ultimate cheerleader for their team was very important. And although there might have been a few people that were skeptical about his comments and everything, there wasn't really that many protesters at the ballpark. Which, you know, although as Cuban Americans we were really upset about what he said, at the end of the day, we're here to watch baseball. And it was a great series, great homestand, and, you know, hopefully a lot more.
So with that, Rob, who do you think is the surprising player of the homestand?
Well, overall, we had a lot of consistency, but the one guy that I thought was key to every single game, or to a few games, was Steve Cishek. 3 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, no earned runs, no hits, and he had a strike percentage of 72%, which means the guy comes in off the bullpen, he's throwing strikes. That's what you want out of your bullpen. Guys that come in and throw strikes. He can probably teach a few things to Heath Bell when he came in and walked a few guys.
Overall, the Marlins went 5-1 on the homestand, taking care of the Houston Astros and the Chicago Cubs. Now they head on a 6-game road trip where they will go to D.C. to face the Nats, and then to Queens to face the Mets, where I'll try to hit up one of the games and see how that goes. It's all about Reyes, to be honest. You know, coming back, playing in Queens, and you know, it's a matter of him just being relaxed and not trying to do too much, but at the same time stick to his game and get that average up and just be the type of player that we signed him to be. Well, that does it for Down the Right Field Line. Be sure to check us out after the road trip as we analyze the series against the Nationals and Mets. And as we move forward, we're going to analyze each homestand and each road trip. So be sure to check us out then. But before we let you go, we'd like to leave you with a random video, which we like to call
The Major Freak Out.